Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. A very good afternoon.
Very good afternoon. Same to you.
My name is Paulini. I'm a counseling psychologist and a practitioner. Today's topic, parent-child relationship, may, as someone earlier said, that it's not for us, it doesn't relate that much. But never mind whether you're a parent or a child, or at least we've been one of the two, or maybe both in some cases. If you may relate to it in some way or the other. If you have any experiences, any examples to share, please go ahead and do so. And at the same time, if you would like to add on to certain things that we are talking about over here, or if you would just like to disagree with something, please go ahead with that as well. It would be a good experience.
No, we respect it.
No, that's all right. I mean, that's completely all right. It would be a different perspective. Okay, so parent-child relationship. Before I start with this officially, I would like to explain something about mind, which I always do in the beginning, because mind is where everything begins from. Our beliefs, our values, our attitudes, our habits, everything. So a very famous model of theory of mind, which includes, okay, this is mind, this is just the conscious part, and this is the subconscious part. So our mind is not a physical structure, it is a ball of energy around us. You can't see the mind, of course, and it is different from brain. Mind can be further divided into two compartments. As you can see over here, conscious mind, which comprises of 10 to 12%, and the subconscious mind, which comprises of 88 to 90%. Thus, the subconscious mind becomes 9 times larger and 6,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. When I say conscious mind, we're sitting over here discussing with each other, we're talking, I can see you people nod, you can see me, hear me over here. This is our present, this is our conscious awareness. Whereas the subconscious mind not only knows this, but also it pays attention to the movements which are going outside. Whatever's happening outside, say somebody pulled a chair. I may not be consciously noticing that, but the subconscious mind is noticing that as well as storing that. So, the subconscious mind can be further divided into model memory and primitive mind. Now, subconscious mind, as I said earlier, is a storehouse of all the experiences, all the episodes, all the things that have happened in the past. For the ones who believe in past life, people say that past life experiences are also stored in the primitive mind of the subconscious mind. And the instincts, that is fight and flight, all of us are born with these instincts, fight and flight, is also responsible by the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is responsible for it. Which is why the automatic responses are governed by the subconscious mind. So, blinking, we can't control our blinking. We can stand, we can stare for some time, but we can't control our blinking heartbeats. Our automatic reflexes that we have. These are our instincts. Whereas the conscious mind, as it's written, thinks, logics, feels, analyzes and decides, and it is responsible for the voluntary body movement. So if I want to walk up there, open the door, it is a conscious choice. It is a voluntary body movement. Okay, so these are the two divisions. And coming back to the subconscious over here, as I said, it stores all the experiences, it stores all the things that have happened in the past, right from the time we have been conceived. All of it makes us who we are. Whether we believe in something, whether we dislike something, whether we like something, our habits, our behaviors, our patterns, everything is from the subconscious mind, because it is a storehouse of all our experiences. And between these two, if you see this line, becomes the critical filter. Our critical filter is like a gatekeeper. Now all of us know what a gatekeeper does. It stops or lets people enter. So similarly, information that is received in the environment gets filtered depending on your critical filter. The kind of information which is supposed to go in will go in, and which is not supposed to go in will not go in. Now, how does the critical filter decide that? Critical filter starts getting developed between the ages of 2 to 8. At the age of 8, it's more or less developed. Eventually, when we grow up, it gets modified depending on the kinds of people we meet, depending on the kinds of experiences we have. However, it's more or less developed at the age of 8. That's why बोलते हैं ना वो बच्चों के सामने बुरी बातें मत करो, बच्चों को ये मत करो. When the mother is pregnant, they say अरे अच्छी बातें करो, let the woman be in a good atmosphere and so on. That is because the mind is that receptive and there is no filter formed at a very young age. And while it is getting formed, whatever is received becomes a part of the filter. So for example, if I was to take an example of a belief system, say I did something and my caregiver tells me, you are really stupid, you shouldn't have done this. Now I see as a child, okay, when I do this, I'm called stupid. Second time something happens, I'm again called stupid. I see, okay, fine, I did this, I'm called stupid. Third time, fourth time, now how many times am I going to check? After a certain point of time, okay, fine, she was always right. So then I am stupid. That is my belief system, I'm stupid, I don't understand. Or maybe something like where people say, oh, I'm never good, I'm not good enough, I know I never win, I never succeed in anything. That is because the belief is met. We've met such people, we've known such people who are so strong about, who strongly hold these opinions that I am like this, I am like that. That is because of the constant conditioning that has happened since childhood. And obviously various experiences trigger it. Another small example would be that of a man who was around 30-35, and he said, I don't know why, but since few years I constantly have this feeling that I will not make it. I will just not survive. And everybody is telling me that can't happen, you are fine, you are healthy, he's got all the tests done, everything is sorted. But still he says, something is wrong, I don't know, there is something which makes me feel I can't make it, I can't survive. When he was then taken to a therapist, and with regression, you can actually go to the time you were conceived. So around that time when he took birth, it so happened that one of the nurses or somebody in the hospital said, he was a premature baby and he was kept in the incubator. So the nurses said, I don't think this child is going to make it, he may not survive. That was stored, and some other event in the life, it was suppressed of course, some other event in the life triggered that thought. So many things get stored, good or bad, and eventually depending on the different experiences and triggers you have in life, they come out accordingly. If you have the good coping skills with you, you cope with it. In case you don't, it may cause some harm. This was the crux of mind. Now I'm going to show you a couple of pictures which will give you an idea of how our belief systems, how our value systems get formed. It's actually an activity, however I would just scrape through it a little quickly. Okay, before I forget, these two things, which is fear of falling and fear of loud noises. These are the only two fears which we are born with. The other fears that we have are learned fears. The way we say learned behavior, similarly falling and loud noises are natural fears that we are born with for the sake of survival. Others are learned fears. The mother is scared of cockroaches, the child will also be scared of cockroaches because she sees the mother jump, so the child will also jump. That becomes a conditioned fear. This example. Say one group of participants is shown this picture, okay? The other group is asked to close their eyes. They are asked to see the nose, the lips, the eyes. The next group is shown this picture, not the previous one. And they are shown that, okay, see the nose, the eyes, the ears. Okay, they are shown this picture. Now a third picture is shown to both the groups. The first group which saw this picture, it's that of an old lady. They are made to believe that this is of an old lady. The eyes and the nose and the way she is dressed up. So when they see this picture, they see an old lady. Yeah? Whereas the second group who's shown this picture, where they are made to believe that this lady is young and she's just looking on this side, see a young lady in this group. How did this happen according to you? This is the study. How did this happen? Just
It's conditioning.
It's conditioning. It created an illusion, right? So similarly, few seconds can actually do so much to people. Imagine the amount of conditioning we go through from the time we were born and so on, 1 year, 2 years and more of that. Okay. When I say this, what is your definition of parent-child relationship? You could speak from a parent's perspective or a child's perspective in one word or one line, just your take. It's nice, not very
Actually,
pleasant.
today a 3-month-year-old kid can open up a mobile and also give you certain knowledge which you
Knowledge.
don't know.
Okay.
Actually, I've been seeing this for some time now.
Anybody else?
I mean, it's amazing.
3-month-old babies operating cell phones. True, very true. Anything else?
And it's not my own. I've seen a few of
Others,
them.
many do it. True, that's right. Many do it. They have their iPads. They have their computerized study material where they have
I mean,
rhymes.
first time it was alarming. The next time
You were used to seeing such things. Any other experiences which you see or which you saw earlier and now it is different, now it is changed? Any age group. It's a pure parent-child relationship and a child is a child. So,
for child aren't anymore child.
For-
Quite okay.
child is not a child anymore. What is a child then? Just to get an idea of what is your opinion. It matters what your opinion is here.
I mean, if child comes into your life, you need to get them in the right channels, but it doesn't happen. I stay in Bangalore where people come home at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, and you're looking at
Right.
hotels and this thing, and it's amazing, that people come home. In fact, they go into Joggers Park and wait till 7 o'clock till the door opens.
Okay.
So things have changed. Earlier parents used to say, come at 7 o'clock, you need to go.
Anybody else would like to say anything? I need one more opinion on parent-child.
First and important thing, the child is not a young adult.
The child is?
Not a young adult. Child, I said one sort of what, the feelings, the emotions, that they are very delicate, they are very powerful, like are more likely to be disturbed with small things, and may not be in a position to take in its stride what the adult will be in a position to take.
And things have really gone, totally different.
Totally different
Totally
over the
different.
generations.
Look at
It's getting smaller in the size.
Smaller than the
Too
size.
much focus on the.
Look at the Johnson ad, you get to know.
Right.
I mean, you're looking at the kid was born yesterday and is able to do a lot of things.
Thank you so much for the opinions and sharing and the examples. The definition, a very technical one, would be where the feelings, the behaviors of the child, which are supported, nurtured, and accordingly channeled for the growth of the child. The child is more or less, when in infancy, is really dependent on the parent. And eventually the dependency reduces, and after a point when the child moves from toddlerhood to adolescence, the distance grows depending on the kind of relationship they have. In India, however, obviously till everyone is studying, you are staying with your parents. Even after marriage and after you start your families, many a time people prefer staying with the parents, say in joint families or extended
Things have
families.
changed.
And many prefer moving out. There are options, so many people
I mean,
prefer moving out.
the relation changes very much,
The
between
relation-
the
right.
parents and the child as he grows up and he goes into the 12th standard, goes for an
Right.
IBM, whatever it is.
Correct.
They are not what we were. Okay, let's put it that way.
It's
Very difficult to fathom them at all.
right.
I mean, I think to a large extent the mother takes a better care than even at whatever age. Yeah.
That's nice. As sir very rightly said, this is one relationship which goes through maximum changes. Whether you're a parent or a child, later even when you have your child, the maximum change that happens in any relationship, I would say this parent-child relationship. Like think about it, with friends, more or less it's steady. With your spouse, you grow, it will become different. But with a child, it is very different. It changes from time to time. Now, there are various factors which affect parent-child relationships. All of us are aware of it. And let's see how it affects. One is this family structure. As someone very rightly pointed out, that the family structures have now changed. People prefer moving out, living separately, which is different. However, there are certain joint families also. The effect of joint family, say if grandparents are living and say the couple and the children, would be different on a child than when only parents are living with the child compared to a single parent, compared to an extended family where there are some 4 to 5 families living there. So the family structure creates a lot of impact on the child. The advantages of, say, a very large joint family or an extended family would be that parents need not monitor the child so much. They are secure and they can easily move out, work and come back.
That's why staying in chawl becomes a very good thing, you know.
They have people to
Yes.
look at, to take care of. At the same time, when people say that if they have moved to a different city for job and for better schooling, if they have moved to a different city or they live separately for whatever reasons, if the children are young, parents have a very different equation. More than anything, the research studies show that when in joint family, the security about the child being at home is high, obviously because people are there, and the security is low when the children are going to be alone at home or when they are put up in daycare or day school, whatever the case is. So these are the factors related to family. Single parent families. There are many single mothers and even single fathers, which the kind of relationship that they have with their child. Many a times what happens is the mother is made to feel very less by the society. If say the mother has a son, are you looking after your mom? Are you the man of the house? The child is 3. What do you expect? This is how people treat, and this creates a lot of impact on the child also, where there is an absence of a father figure or absence of a mother figure, whatever the case is. Parental characteristics. 2 examples over here. So, say there is one, let's take an example of a mother here. There is a girl who gets married, she has a baby. What was her life before marriage? She was the youngest in the family, youngest amongst all her cousins, very pampered, really looked after. Her husband is also nice, pampers her, now she has a baby. She's never played with babies earlier because she was the youngest. She's never had any experiences seeing women pregnant or looking after kids. On the other hand, say there is another girl who gets married. Say she was one of the eldest siblings in the family. She's had cousins who are younger than her. She's looked after children. She's played with them. She's familiar. Who will be able to handle children better over here? It would be the second example, very obviously. Why? Because she has certain experiences, certain characteristics of, being the responsible one. When you are the first born or the second born and you have many more siblings or cousins younger than you, it is installed in you. Bade ho aap. Even if the child is 4, now you are an elder sister, now you are an elder brother. You have to do this. These are parental characteristics. With that also comes their personal characteristics as individuals. Some people are in general very patient. Some people are in general a little short-tempered or not very patient. Or some people are more positive in general, where they are comfortable in dealing with different kinds of behaviors or different situations. They find it easy to adapt. Some may not find it that easy to adapt. Relationship between parents. I spoke about single parent families earlier. When I just talk about relationship between parents, it's not just about broken homes where parents are separated or divorced or it's because of death. It could be because of constant fights. The husband and wife may be living together just because they want the children to not suffer, but the children are suffering because they themselves aren't happy with each other. The constant fights that happen, the constant arguments, that creates a lot of negative impact on the emotional health of the child. There was a case where this boy showed a lot of academic problems and emotional and behavioral problems. It was fine till he was 5, 6. There was no problem. There was no detection of any particular disorder or any problem. But when he was 6, 7, 8, he started showing a lot of symptoms of a very disturbed child. So the class teacher had noticed, since he was in the same school, the teachers knew the kid. So they referred them to the counselor, and eventually they found out that the relationship between the parents have spoiled now. Maybe till 4, 5 it was fine, and around that time the father started having an extramarital affair and there was a lot of tension between the husband and wife. They were only staying together for the sake of the child, but then that was not helping. That was one. Another is education. Again, I'm not making statements where only educated parents do good, not necessarily. But education definitely adds on to some support, some awareness, where parents are a little more aware, little more well informed, at least that's our hope and expectations, that they are literate, they are informed, they would know a little more than people who have not been educated, have not had the opportunity of education. So it's a good idea if you're well informed, well aware, if not a completely literate person, but some amount of child education, birth education, all of that need to be put in place, maybe given by doctors or by such awareness talks or maybe by certain specialists, is a good idea. Cultural context. It differs from culture to culture. As I said earlier, in foreign countries, by the time they are 14, 15, they are out of the house. They live on their own, earn money, they do small jobs, they manage their education, they may even drop out from school. Everybody goes to school, but not everybody goes to college. Over here, school, college is obvious. You go to school, then you go to college. Whatever it is, you just go there. Whether you're serious, whether you like the subject, whatever it is, you go to college. That is the belief. That is how it works, and which is fine. We just need to work around it, depending on whatever the circumstances are. Unique characteristics of a child. When I say this, there have been many cases where a child is born and maybe the child resembles some other disliked relative. And the poor child suffers because of that. Hey, iske jaisa dikhta hai. Oh God, that is subconscious rejection of the child, which is so sad. Or maybe if someone comes and says, oh, this one looks like so-and-so actor. Handsome, beautiful, khatam. That creates an impact. It's a very small example of unique characteristics. It could be some behavior which could really put the parent off, that this one acts like this and I hate that. But you can teach the child, that is one thing. But when it comes to looks, sorry, that is genetics and you cannot help with that. These are some of the factors. Would you like to add anything? You think I missed anything? Please go ahead. Anything to be added? One point.
No, how you look at it. See, even the education part you're saying, even the books that the parents read or even the books that the child reads might be influencing their behavior and particular income. He looks into the book or a particular story and it is that parent's behavior in an ideal one. Why does my mom or why does my pop not behave like that?
Not behave like that.
Or same might be applied to the parents also.
Right.
Or comparing it with his friends or his neighbors, that also is playing a part.
Yeah.
Or the similar one, the mothers and the parents, means they say obedient, how this is, and then they start that comparison coming, mainly because of this aspect. That might maybe affect.
Yeah, that
One
can
thing
affect
that could
also.
affect also is, are both the parents working or one of them is full
Already
time?
one of them is working. Right.
Actually, it doesn't change anymore because we are a 3-member family and each one, I have a 26-year-old boy who is into advertising and all what he knew was we family knew only advertising, like my wife was in advertising, I wasn't. And this unique characteristics of child is unique by every single other
By every
child,
single.
not only 10 में से एक है ऐसा नहीं, एक से एक ही है.
एक से एक ही, that's very right. Every child is different. Even between the siblings, one sibling may be acting in a particular way, the other one acts and perceives things in a particular way. Even twins are different, right?
Actually, in today's generation, it's very difficult if you ask me. I mean, basically, I wouldn't love to have my child coming at 6 o'clock in the morning having a lot of ball.
Right.
Okay, now these are things which abraises, I think, almost every parent. But you have no choice.
Another thing comes to mind is financial condition.
Financial condition. That affects the parent-child relationship. Okay.
Financial conditions and it may add to it the habits also.
The habits also.
The habits of the parents also, the habits of the kids
Of the
also,
kids.
and the kids' friend circle.
So the society, the effect
Society
of.
also.
Okay.
Like, I remember one would, parents tell you 8 o'clock come home or don't come or no more food. But today you can't say that. The guy walks in at 4 o'clock, he wants food, he gets it. So things really have, it hurts or doesn't hurt, it's very difficult to even talk about. The children, if they come Adults. Okay.
You talked about one parent family, but one child family is also when there used to be 2, 3 children, the child gets a bit adjustment. Now the expectations from that one child are
Are
far
a
too
lot
many,
more. Hmm.
and the child also doesn't have another child to share its feelings or at home. That also is a
Right.
I mean, I would say they are unique. The present generation.
Yes, everyone is unique. That's the
there.
underlying
Who are
term
alike,
which you
who
very
are
rightly
alike.
pointed out. Now these are, moving on a little ahead, these are 4 levels of cohesion. As you can see, this is one which is disengaged. Disengaged is where, okay, what is cohesion? Is a lot of closeness or togetherness between people. When it is disengaged, people are more or less like strangers. Many parents complain that ये बड़ा हो गया और अभी तो घर तो hotel है, like you just come here to eat and sleep. Many parents complain. So this happens after a certain age. Then comes separated, which is, let's say, low to moderate. It's not completely stranger, but at the same time a little privacy. Usually this starts happening around adolescence, where it's like, okay, now I know my job, I take care of myself, don't ask me too many questions, I'll be there on time. I'm a big girl, I can manage myself. This separation, this is just an example, it could be at different levels also. Then comes connected, which is moderate to high, which is very close and at the same time very well informed. You are very secure and you inform each other about everything. It's very healthy way of being connected in a family. And then comes this enmeshed, which is too interfering, where the parents are really looking after the child and the child is completely dependent. So now when I spoke about unique characteristics earlier, say in case of a child who has some special needs, this enmeshed parenting is, the enmeshed style of attachment is very natural for the parents, where they are very scared for the child, where they are very worried for the child. Say if the child is wheelchair bound or has certain hearing impairments or visual impairments, the enmeshed aspect of it is very high. In other circumstances where the child doesn't have special needs, this kind of style is okay when the child is in infancy, where the child will be dependent. You can't expect the child to come and say, "Mom, I'm hungry," when the child is just, say, a few months old. So this happens usually in infancy. Then as you grow ahead, say when they are 8, 9, 10, it's connected. It can even stay like that in adolescence and adulthood depending on what kind of relationship you share. And it's okay even if it's not like that, even if it gets a little separated. Where they are informed, but they're more like acquaintances, where it's informed, I know, I'll be there. Not very consistent at being connected. And disengaged could be where parents or the child feels that, the other person is not really paying attention to my needs. That could be one of the things, which is disengaged. Factors of a healthy relationship, emphasizing the other older points. When I talk about flexibility and adaptability, this becomes a slight issue with parents as well as with child. What happens is the child says that, okay, fine, now I can travel on my own, I have friends, I have a cell phone, I can contact you if I need anything, I'm independent. So I need you to understand that I can stay out for long. Your rules are your rules, that's not my problem. Just an example. Parents on the other hand say, do you know how it is outside? I have seen more life than you have. You're still very young. Maybe the child is grown up, maybe the parents are being a little worried, or maybe the child is not trying to understand what the parent is trying to say. It could be both ways, where the child has to understand and the parents also need to understand in both ways, creating a balance. So that is flexibility and adaptability with the family. So a simple rule is where there was a small clip art which said that, whose house is this? The child says, it's my house. You follow my rules then. Once you have your house, I'm not going to question you. That is the rule that they have in that particular clip art. However, flexibility and adaptability needs to happen from every stage. When the child is an infant, many parents find it very difficult. The first time it may jara, how will my child go? That acceptance that my child has grown can be very difficult at times. And the child may get very irritated with it. That, oh God, my mom, my dad, why do they hug me and kiss me when they drop me to school? I am not a kid anymore. That happens. Between siblings, you need your child to even understand that, okay, now you have another sibling, a younger one, who needs more help than you. That is also very difficult for the older one to adapt. Then at that time, your tantrums and attention-seeking behavior starts. Yeah, you love this one more, I know. Why did you give me birth in the first place? That happens when it's like that. If there are more number of children, God bless you. It continues for a longer time. Or maybe the elder one starts becoming more responsible with age. So flexibility, adaptability with time, and this happens all the time in parent-child relationship, because the child keeps growing, the parent also has to grow with the child, depending on his or her temperament. Appropriate boundaries. Appropriate boundaries. You need to be home by 12. The child says, no, I'll be home by 4. Very common in every household. Even I have this argument. No, I don't come home at 4. I go much earlier. But there are different deadlines set by parents. There are different deadlines that the child, as a daughter or a son, you may want that. Forget adolescents or adults, as children, even younger ones. खेल के आने दो ना 7:30 को तो आ जाऊंगा, क्या problem है? And the parents said 7:30, when will you do your homework, when will you brush your teeth, eat dinner, go off to sleep, you have to go to school. From there, from that very point, the boundaries, the issues of boundaries start. Setting realistic and appropriate boundaries, sitting with the child, does wonders, even in adulthood. Where, okay, what's your time, you like this, like how we bargain with the sabji wala or some other shopkeeper, we are able to bargain there, chalo aapka na mera. That bargain can be struck between a parent and a child. Sometimes the parents may win, sometimes the child can win, depends. But bargain is possible over there. Discipline. Especially when the child is young. People fail to understand that discipline is not punishment. Punishment and discipline are two different things. Just to teach certain behaviors, to inculcate certain habits, you need not punish your child. Now, there are different ways of going about. Where, say, this mother wanted her daughter to learn swimming. And the daughter said, "Mujhe pani mein maza nahi aa raha, I don't want to go." She locks the child in the room. You will stay inside. I've paid so much for the swimming classes. You can't be doing this. She locks the child inside. The child is crying, howling. After half an hour, she removes her. How healthy is this? It's not healthy for the child. The child may develop fear of closed room or darkness. Or maybe the mother that, oh my God, my mom, she locked me up if I say something again. The child may stop sharing anything with the mother again. That is not discipline. It is a very stringent form of punishment what this lady did. She could have, probably a simpler way would be that, okay, fine, we'll go together. I'll be there. Why do you not want to go? The whys of their behavior is very important. What happened? You're not comfortable. And if your child is not comfortable, try to find out the reason behind the discomfort. And if there is no reason and still the child doesn't wish to do it, come on, it's that person's liking. The way we have our likes and dislikes, even children can have that. And it's okay. And before enrolling for the classes, parents need to speak to the child. Are you sure you want to learn swimming? Do you want to learn dancing? Many parents get ambitious. My child will learn football. Because I didn't learn football, my child will learn football. Maybe your child doesn't like football. So, that. And punishment comes because of these unrealistic expectations. And they say discipline. That's why I'm using these examples. They say discipline nahi hai, routine hona chahiye. Children actually are made for routines. An infant, when the child is born, he or she will exactly know how much milk to take. Even one drop more will not be accepted by the child. The child will cry. The sleeping patterns, once you get familiar with it, you will realize that it's more or less, the same. They wake up at this time, they sleep at this time, they ask for food at this time. It's actually a very good schedule that they follow. We as adults don't. थोड़ा इधर उधर हो जाता है. We wake up around say 7:30 बोला है तो उसका 7:45 हो गया. So on. So that discipline and that routine is actually easier to cultivate at a very young age, when the child is very young. And any kind of habit or pattern which needs to be formed actually takes only 21 days to get cultivated, because your neural pathways take 21 days to form a new neural pathway. It takes 21 days for that. So if you want to teach your child how to brush your teeth, to follow, to wake up early, it's a good idea to make him do this for 21 days. The same thing, make him do. From the 22nd day, you will realize that it has gotten much better than what it was on the first day. And then eventually the child becomes independent and follows that particular routine that you have set. Then, open communication, a very, very important aspect. What happens over here is, open communication, when I say this, it's not about sharing everything. Where the child has to come, chalo aaj ka din kaisa hai batao. Yeah, it's a good idea to do it. But when I say open communication, it is important to make your child feel that I am here for you. You can tell me whatever you have to tell me. Whatever has happened in school, I am ready to listen to you. And when we talk, you don't talk at the child. Many parents do that. The child is this much. The parents are so big. You may be just 5 feet tall, but your child is 2.5, 3 feet. And you look at the child. Kya kiya humne? You did this, you did that. It can be very intimidating for the child. The child is so small. Oh my God, did I do something wrong? Just imagine somebody really huge standing in front of you, talking to you like that. When I talk about open communication, I also mean communication which involves both of them, both parent and child. You go down to the level of the child. Your child is this much. Talk to the child and not at the child. Making the child feel that I am there. If you have anything to say, you have anything to discuss. Has something gone wrong in school? Why are you crying? Did your friends say anything? Did the teacher say anything? Did you fall down? Feel free to come and tell me. And at the same time, you have your special talks with them. You know, this happened. You don't say anything. What did you do in your office? You won't understand. Forget it. That's not the way to go about it. You also share with the child whatever you think the child can understand. That is an open communication. Researchers say that there is verbal and non-verbal communication. You're familiar with it. Non-verbal communication comprises 50% of our communication, or maybe a little more than 50%. So the words and the tone of voice, everything matters. But even non-verbal communication, so when I talk about the posture, or if parents talk like that, many a times, you aaj late aaye, you're already threatening the child, and the child will say, oh my God, should I speak the truth here? Because body language, it doesn't have a very conscious connection. It has a very subconscious programming. Body language gets very easily registered. It creates feelings, these actions, these gestures that we create, it creates feelings in people. Then comes difficulties faced by parents. Of course, we start from here. Teaching social etiquettes and manners. Now, how many of you as parents face that? Honestly. And it's okay, just yes or no.
Come again?
So, teaching social etiquettes and manners to children.
Actually, now I believe the child takes mother into the fold, then the father.
Okay. Even if it's the mother, generally in the Indian setup, mother becomes a primary caregiver. It's usually the mother looking after the child, feeding the child, and after a certain age, the teachers come in, and only in adolescence the father actually comes in, becoming the secondary caregiver.
Actually, the principal calls the mother, not the father.
Not the father. Where is your mother? That's the first question. It's a general concept which runs true everywhere, that mother is the caregiver. True, primary caregiver, but sometimes these days even maids are the primary caregivers. So that shifts accordingly.
See, one thing, the child is more likely learn by example than by force. So if the parents are not in a position, or even the maid at home is not in a position to set a good example, it's difficult to teach that child.
Right. So teaching social etiquettes and manners. What would be social etiquettes and manners according to you?
See, interpersonal relations.
Interpersonal relationships.
Depends on the kind of kind of society you're in. I mean, if you're like I had a son who was in Arya Vidya Mandir. The first thing he learned was touch the feet of. That was the first thing he taught him. So things are different.
Right. Simple ones, if we go greetings, saying please, saying thank you. Many parents complain, look at the language my child is using. In India especially. Yeah, sorry, please, and thank you. 3 words, 3 golden words that we say. Many parents complain that their child has a very rough way of talking. In India, we have this tum and tu, and my child keeps saying tu. From where has this child learned tu? You are saying tu to the child, and the child is obviously going to learn that because the child hasn't learned driver को आप जो भी राम बुलाते हैं, say the driver's name is Ram, for example. Now you call the driver, say the parents and the driver of the same age, or maybe the driver is younger, and you say Ram, chalo idhar gaadi lete aao. But the child is not knowing that. The child thinks, okay, driver is Ram, so I'm going to call Ram, and then say Ram uncle bolo usko. Now it's very difficult for the child to understand the basic manner of showing some respect to somebody who's a little older than you, saying thank you when you receive something. So at that time, it's parents who need to inculcate those habits in themselves first so that your child follows, because children learn very well through identification and through association. Then comes handling temper tantrums. This generally happens around 4 to 6 years of age. Older children don't do that, and the younger ones who are 2 or 3 don't really know this temper tantrums that much. Temper tantrums is a very smart behavior carried on by the children to make their parents do what they want them to. Usually you'll see in malls where the child will go, the mother will say, ye nahi lena hai, we already bought this toy, now enough. And the child will start crying, maybe roll on the floor and cry and shout, no, I want this, and really trouble the mother. Out of embarrassment, the mother says, fine, just take it, this one is creating a scene over here. She gives away that toy. What happens? The child learns, if I do this, my mother feels embarrassment or whatever he understands, I'll do it again, it works for me, I get the toy when I cry like that. That is a learned behavior and the child repeats it. So handling temper tantrums, maybe by setting earlier boundaries that we'll only buy one toy today, or maybe we've excuse me, had this thing where you only have one toy. If you want another toy, you earn it. You by good behavior, or maybe one toy today and after 4 months you get another one, or so on. Cracking deals with your child, basically, for the lack of word. Communication, as I spoke earlier, about open communication. One important part is the positive aspect of communication, which need not be neglected. When I say positive communication, what happens is many a times bringing in social etiquettes and communication together. Say the child says, the guests have come and I want to go and serve them cold drinks. I want to take that tray. Now the mother says, okay fine, just take it. Girana mat. Bilkul girana mat. Jaake dekhe aao. Now girana mat has already created an image in the mind कि गिर जाएगा and it falls down. And the mother says, बोला था, I told you you will drop it. Yeah, you told him or her that you will drop it, which is why the child dropped it. A better way of saying it would be संभाल or I will come with you. Then if the child is jumping around, अब भी गिरोगे, मुझे पता है, and the child falls, I told you. Why? You're saying that, instead you can just say take care. How difficult is it to make your statement a little more positive? Even this works even with adults. Even when you are communicating with others, when I say, okay, don't think of a pink elephant with white polka dots. The first image that would come in mind would be that of a pink elephant, that oh my god, what just happened? Because I said don't, the emphasis becomes, high on the other part of it. So it's a good idea to make the statement positive. Then comes creating a balance in the family. This happens, yeah.
Before you go to that, even the tone of communication.
Right, absolutely right. The
And
tone
the
of
tone
communication.
needs to be a very
tone needs
controlled
to be
one,
true.
a very relaxed one,
Right,
so that it can put the child at
right, very right. The tone is also very important. At times, the parents themselves are so rude to the child. The child talks, in the same way. The parents say, my child has no manners, and school अच्छा नहीं है, play group अच्छा नहीं है, and everything else is bad. The tone, nice. Creating a balance in the family. This majorly happens in the Indian setup, where say grandparents live and they don't want to really say anything to the child. And the parents have set rules that okay fine, you eat dinner, you eat 2 chapatis, this sabji and dal. You come back from office and the grandparents say aaj nahi khaya, he said usko chocolate lena hai, otherwise I will not eat dinner. So then I felt bad and I let him have whatever he wanted to have. So then the parents said, अरे सारी मेहनत पे पानी फिर गया, इतना बोला था eat this, do that, and now someone melted over here and the child went with whatever he or she was supposed to do. So creating a balance where it is important, in this case where say it was a grandparent, it is important for the mother or the father to say that listen, it's important, right, that the child should get good nourishment, which is why I said only this is to be eaten. Even if you act like that, it will work for us. You know, working together as a team, creating a balance. Many a times, especially grandparents don't like it. That come on, when will I pamper or spoil the child? All the time, you know, I discipline my child and that is done. I would like to spoil my grandchild. I would really like to, you know, be the favorite one in the house. And in being that favorite one, at times it may not be very good for the child. So there, a balance needs to be created. Then comes safety. It's a very, very sensitive issue here. Where safety could be anything, say from road accidents or from people or strangers, protecting your child in whatever ways you can. Parents always will be worried considering whatever's going on today in the society. It is really, really risky for the parents if they really feel scared to leave their child alone with a stranger. Trust has become such a big issue. There are so many cases of abuse happening in certain centers, daycare centers, in schools, and you can't really control it. All we can do is just be careful and be well informed about where we are keeping the children, what we are doing, whether we are in touch with them. There are ways in which we can contact them, connect them, which is why many children at a very young age already have a cell phone because the parents are worried. Fine, you want a cell phone, take it, you call me if something happens. This safety becomes an issue. Anything else on safety? Any of you have experienced this apart from the late nights? Anything else, if there are any worries that you have experienced or heard of regarding safety with children, young or
Oh,
slightly?
you're talking of young. Okay, we don't have a young child anymore.
Right.
And one wouldn't know what happened 10 years
One
ago.
wouldn't know what happens. It's a good idea when the
Sometimes the bus,
The
school
bus.
and all, they change people. No? Keep
Hmm.
on changing the people.
they keep
So
changing.
they have an arrangement with the parents who are working.
Hmm.
They are having arrangement with the daycare center that the child will be
Will be
picked
dropped
up.
there.
And so if the person changes, then they have to make a call, or either they have to keep the child that day, not send him to school because they don't know
Who that person
Who is the driver? Who is the ayah?
Who's
who
the
is-
ayah?
that happens.
That's a very good thing which has started happening where if even if somebody else from the family comes, they'll ask who this person is. You need to give it in writing an application or
This is a bit of a complex issue in the sense you look at the Indian society, that there is a habit that when they go to somebody's house or relative's house, pick up the child, kiss the child, and then the child will take advantage. The child is not in a position to distinguish that this is a good touch or this is a bad touch,
exactly.
or this is a good person or this is a bad person, or this is my relative, and his intentions are good, and this is, you know, maybe my relative, but intentions are not good. But the child is not into it. But because this, which is a habit, it is there with most of the Indian family, it needs to be controlled or
Needs to be controlled, right. There were many nice television series of a particular program where they spoke about making the child aware of the good and bad touch. Where even in school now, children are taught that this is a bikini area, and if anybody touches you in that area, it is bad touch. Be it anyone, whatever it is, you have one supporter or a caregiver in the house. It could be your mother, your father, or maybe a sibling who's older, or maybe your grandparents. You should have one hero, one person who's like a savior whom you can go to and tell everything. So if that person, somebody else experiences bad touch, then the child can go to that person and inform that this happened. Or you should straight away raise an alarm if somebody is taking you in isolation. So children are taught that. In spite of that, there are many cases which really happen, but other than that, making them aware, making them feel completely secure that I am there. No matter what happens, I am there to take care of you. That again becomes important.
And then not taking things, a prasad hai, prasad ho.
Not taking things from strangers.
Particularly this is a very bad habit. A prasad, very
Right.
Bhagwan ka hai, nahi leta.
Right.
The giving prasad is a very bad.
Many people misuse it, giving prasad.
And they are giving it like this, and the mother telling the child, beta le le, prasad hai, Bhagwan ka hai.
Right. That happens. goals and expectations. Even with a young child, I know this friend's friend who had a very young child, say around 1 year old, and they had a big wall where they put up posters of successful people and said, do you see Sachin Tendulkar? You should have this kind of determination. Do you see so and so person? You should be like this. And this child is so young, what are you doing? It's a good idea to condition the child, but how? Just putting so much information, overloading the child. That is not right, because parents have certain expectations. Say the mother didn't learn a particular, say painting class, she didn't know how to paint and she wants her child to go and paint. I couldn't paint, my child should at least learn to paint. Just because you couldn't doesn't necessarily mean your child should also do it. Then a very important thing which actually is the crux of this is managing your emotions. Because as parents, where children are younger, of course, after a certain age it's everyone's responsibility, but when the children are younger, it's very important for parents to also manage their emotions when it comes to disciplining them, teaching them something. A lot of displacement of emotions happen where, say, the father has come back from work, is very tired, has had a bad day at work, and the child breaks something in front of him. And the father, the way he would shout at the child would be just way too much compared to what the child has actually done. That really the child, it may actually make the child feel scared of the father next time. Many a times people end up hitting their children for bad behavior, and hitting as in not just a whack, but really beating them black and blue. In India, we don't have the concept of child helpline where children call up and say, "Leke jao mujhe itna mujhe maar pada hai." That doesn't happen in India. But otherwise, parents really beat them up. And it is not that, okay, if your child has spoken something to somebody, if you want to teach that child is a different thing. But by beating up, you're not teaching anything. You're just giving more bruises to the physical body and the emotional state of the mind. That is important, controlling, because what the researchers say and what the experienced people in the field say is that basically when a parent is hitting the child so much, it is his or her anger being vented out on the child. Not for the purpose of discipline, but for the purpose of venting out. There are just general guidelines which can be applicable to any age group, especially younger ones, not young adults. Leading by example, as Sir very rightly pointed out, you need to be a good example for your child. Positive communication, as spoken earlier, using positive words, positive statements, emphasizing and praising good behavior. Not all of us like getting ridiculed all the time, then why should we ridicule the children? Positive behavior and good statements, good rewards. Sticking to realistic goals and routines.
Now, before you go further, this emphasize and praise good behavior is one part of the thing.
Right.
The other part is you need to ignore sometimes.
Right. It's good to ignore certain behaviors at times and concentrate more on the good behavior. Thank you for the point. Sticking to realistic goals and routines. You can't expect your child to sleep for 6 hours, wake up, go to 10 classes and 10 schools and daycare and everywhere. So a realistic goal and taking your child in the plan and constructing that routine really helps. Whether do you like this? If the child likes it, for all you know, the routine can be stretched depending on his or her need. Then avoiding comparisons. That was already mentioned by him. Avoiding comparisons with siblings or with friends, neighbors. That is very important. Special time every day. Now in Mumbai, many people say ये possible नहीं होता है. But then if you have a child, why do you have a child? For some purpose, right? So at least 10 to 15 minutes every day for that one child, it can be spared. It only belongs to that child. Only then can you actually create some kind of bonding. In cases of 2 children, many a times the first one, then if say there's a gap of 3 or 4 years, the first one may feel very ignored. So at that time, if the child is given that special time that right now this younger one will be looked after by say daddy or somebody else, this is yours, your time. That works a lot. Then be calm and consistent. If I say no for ice cream for something, then the same thing will not be done again. But if I'm not consistent with my behavior, I say okay fine, you're crying, I'll give away, then it creates a problem. So being consistent and at the same time being calm. And it's okay to make mistakes. So trial and error, because every individual is different and we do make mistakes and 2 children are not the same. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for the experiences and so much sharing and examples. I had a really good time. Thank you.